It's time for Orilium. It's time for Orilium. It's time for Orilium. I'm gonna read so many books. Yeah. Hello fellow readers and readeresses, it is finally time for Orilium Autumn Equinox and I am so very happy. For those of you who don't know what Orilium is, it is a magical readathon created and hosted by G from Book Roast. I'm gonna link her video down in the description, but let me try to explain a little bit what's going on here. So it is a little bit of a role-playing game where Orilium is a magical academy and we all create our characters and our characters go to Orilium to learn new things. There's Spring Equinox and Autumn Equinox. I also participated in the Spring Equinox and I think I did quite well because I was able to eventually finish all the books from my TBR for then, and now it's time to create the Autumn Equinox TBR. But there is a little bit of a difference in how the books are being selected for the Autumn Equinox, and we're going to talk about it in a bit because now it's time for me to introduce you to my character. Her name is Aurora Nox, which is a combination of two Latin words that mean respectively dawn and night, and I fully realize that this is very cringy, but this is unfortunately how I am. Aurora is part of the Guild of the Archivists and her calling is Godseer, with the god that she's connected to being Ostra, the goddess of dawn and new beginnings or some such. Aurora's current certification in Orilium is Apprentice, her background is Wildling, she's from the province of Iltheria and her heritage is Iltherian. Iltherian? I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Now for the Autumn Equinox, I have decided to stick only with Godseer classes because there's a lot of prompt for those. As I mentioned earlier, there is a difference in how the books are being selected for the Autumn Equinox because this time we don't only have to address a subject, but we also need to achieve a certain grade for that subject. So there are 3 different grades for each subject. We have O for ordinary, Q for qualified, and D for distinguished. And for the different subjects, for each of those grades, there is a different prompt. So for some subjects, like Demonology for example, I will only have to achieve ordinary, so I'll have to only read the book that corresponds to the first prompt. But for some others, like Conjuration for example, I will have to achieve qualified, which means that I will have to read 2 different books for the 2 different prompts. I hope that explanation was at least a little bit clear. If not, please go watch G's video because she explains it way better than I do. So with all that being said, let's go into the Autumn Equinox syllabus for the Godseer calling. I have it printed over here and I have highlighted the grades for the different subjects that I need to achieve. So for the Godseer calling for the Autumn Equinox, I need to achieve ordinary in Inscription, qualified in Restoration, qualified in Conjuration, ordinary in Demonology, and distinguished in lore. Now let's go and see what kind of books I selected for these specific subjects. What in the name of cringe was that? We're gonna start with Conjuration, in which I need to achieve ordinary and qualified. For ordinary, the theme is ghostly etiquette and the prompt is read a chord/royal book. For this prompt, I decided to go with a book that's already on my August TBR from my TBR game The Lord of the Reeds, and that book is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. This is an adult epic fantasy and the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archive series, and I know for a fact that there is a court here, the Alethi court, because this is a reread for me. It is a big book, as you can see, over 1200 pages, but I don't mind it. I always enjoy reading the books from this series and I usually go through them pretty quickly, so hopefully it's not gonna slow me down too much. And for qualified grade for Conjuration, the theme is spirit communication and the prompt is book inspired / set in a different culture / country than yours. This is a very easy prompt for me because I am Bulgarian and most of the books that I tend to read aren't set in Bulgaria, so almost all the books on my TBR that I could select would correspond to that prompt. However, I decided to go with a book that is currently corresponding to my mood, and that book is A Reaper at the Gates by Saba Tahir. This is a young adult fantasy in the 3rd book in an Ember in the Ashes series. The book is set in an imaginary country that has been inspired by Middle Eastern mythology and the Roman Empire, kind of a combination of the 2. It is a very nice setting. I love it. It's always so atmospheric and it gets me all the desert vibes that I could ever want. There is only one little problem, and that is that I read the 2nd book, A Torch Against the Night, last year, at the end of last year, and I wasn't too happy with it. There were a lot of things that were very frustrating to me in that book, so much so that I was considering DNFing the rest of the series. However, I am still curious to know what's going to happen next, and I hope that the author is going to redeem herself in the rest of the series. I loved the first book, and I know that she can write amazing stories and amazing settings. So I'm gonna give the series another chance, and I'm gonna try this book this month. Next, we're gonna continue with Demonology, where I only need to achieve Ordinary. And for Ordinary, the theme is Introduction to Low-Level Demons. With a prompt, read the first book you see on Instagram/Goodreads/other. For that, I haven't selected a book yet because I wanted to film it here live for you to see, which is a little bit nerve-wracking. I have decided to alter this rule a little bit to fit my situation because I'm on a book buying ban, and I try to avoid any book purchase that I can. You will see later that I kind of break that rule because I have no other choice in that situation. But here, I'm gonna alter it that I'm gonna read the first book that I see on Instagram, but only if I already own it, and it doesn't require me to read other books to get to it. So for example, if I see a book that I don't currently own, or I own but I have already read, or I own but is the third book in a series that I haven't yet started, I will continue scrolling until I reach a book that fits my requirements. I know that's a little bit cheaty, but that's what fits my current situation. So let's go and select the book. I'm gonna record my screen for you to witness. This is gonna be fun, maybe. Here we go, Instagram. Heartstopper, I don't own these ones. What is this? David, I don't own this one. Defiant, I think this requires me to read a few more books before I get to it. Heavenly Tyrant, I don't own it, and I actually DNF'd the Iron Widow series. Mistborn Trilogy, I've already read this one. I read Jade City. I read Last Argument of Kings. Outlander, I do not own. Illborn, I do not own. What? Can't even figure out what these books are. Okay, I don't think I own any of them. The Popular, I don't own. Red Sister, I already read. I don't own A Deadly Education, and I think it's a second book in the series. Ship of Destiny, I own this one, but I haven't finished the first trilogy of the Realm of the Elderling. Horus Rising, don't own that one. Ooh, okay, let's see. The Black Tongue Thief, I already read. Empire of Silence, I do not own. Howling Dark, don't own. Demon in White, don't own. Kingdom of Death, don't own. Red Rising, I have already read. Golden Sun, I don't own. Don't own any of these. Okay, Fahrenheit 451, I own and I haven't read. Okay, I guess I got it here. 1 second. All right. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury is a classic dystopian sci-fi about firemen who burn books. I think that's pretty much all I know about it. I have heard great things about the book, but I don't know much about the plot, and I prefer to keep it that way. I am super excited to read this one. I've been wanting to read it for many years, and I still haven't for some reason. I wasn't entirely feeling like reading something like that right now, but it's always a good time to read a good book, so let's hope that this one turns out to be that kind of a book. So we are done with Demonology, and we're moving on to Inscription, where I only need to achieve Ordinary. The theme for Ordinary is the glyph Tidy. Love that. And the prompt for it is book from your end of the year TBR. Now let me tell you, I have a gazillion books on that list still remaining, but I decided to go with a book that is on my 12 books recommended by 12 friends to read in 12 months, and that book was actually recommended to me by my mom, and the book is Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. Fredrik Backman is one of those authors that I consistently hear great things about, and I keep on thinking to myself, I need to start reading his books, but I never do for some reason, and my mom has read all of his books that have been translated to Bulgarian currently, and she loves them, and she recommended this one to me as the one that has left the most impression on her because it's the one that she has read the most recently. It wasn't necessarily a book that I felt like reading in the summer. This sounds like a more introspective book, but I kind of feel guilty that it's been 8 months of the year already more or less, and I still haven't read the book that was recommended to me by my most favorite person on this planet. So I am doing it this month. So that's all for Inscription, and we're moving to lore, which is my most busy subject for this equinox, starting with Ordinary, where the theme is Tale of the Guide, and the prompt is Bookseller's Recommendation. This is where I actually went to a bookstore and I talked to a bookseller and I asked her to recommend me a book. I didn't film that interaction because I didn't feel comfortable asking the bookseller whether she was comfortable being on camera. It felt a little bit weird for me to ask her that question, so you won't see footage of that. You will see a little bit of footage of me walking through the store. And this is where I actually broke my book buying ban, because the book that she recommended to me I didn't already own, and the book is Sandstorm by James Rollins. This is a Bulgarian edition, so this is why you see all these weird letters here. All I know about this book is that it's a thriller and there is a little bit of a desert setting in it, which is a perfect thing, because had you asked me what book fits your mood perfectly right now, I would say a thriller set in the desert. And I am very, very grateful to this lovely bookseller for recommending me this book. I really hope I enjoy it. It's been a while since I read a book in Bulgarian, so this is gonna be a little bit weird, I guess, but still, I am very much looking forward to this. Truly. Next for lore, we have Qualified, the theme for which is Cursed Cloaks, and the prompt is Clothing on the Cover. For that theme, I decided to go with another book that is already on my August TBR from my TBR game, and that book is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. As you can see here on this lovely second-hand edition, there is a bunch of clothing. These two lovely ladies dressed in this lovely old-timey attire. Now this is a standalone romance, and according to Google, the first published work by Jane Austen, and I was about to say that I am very excited about it. However, the problem is that that wouldn't be true, because I already read it and I loved it. I wasn't planning on reading it this early in the month, but I opened it just to see one chapter, and before I knew it, I had read it all within one day. It was a great read for me, and I will talk about it in my summary of the books for August. So one prompt already completed. And last in lore, we have Distinguished, the theme for which is the Underworld 101, and the prompt for that theme is Read a horror book. Now, I am a big wimp, so I usually avoid reading horror things. However, there is one author that can always entice me to read a book, and that author is Stephen King, and the book that I selected is The Institute. There are some people that qualify this book as more of a supernatural thriller. However, in Goodreads, it is tagged the most as a horror book, so I'm gonna go with this one. I am excited. I don't know the synopsis of it, but I really enjoyed this book cover. I find it super beautiful, very atmospheric. That's gonna be the book. And last of all the subjects for my autumn equinox syllabus, we have Restoration, where I need to achieve Qualified. What I like very much about Restoration is that the prompts are very flexible, and you will see. So the theme for Ordinary Grade is Induce Sleep, and the prompt is Start a book before bed. Now that is a very lovely prompt, because I often like to start books right before bed. Which book that's gonna be, I haven't decided yet, and I think I can overlap prompts, so maybe I can even use one of the ones that I already mentioned, or one of the ones that are on my TBR for my TBR game. I will let you know about that in my autumn equinox wrap-up. And for Qualified, the theme is Relocating Pain, and the prompt is Read a book in a different spot each time you pick it up. Now, I live in a one-bedroom apartment, which means I have my bedroom, I have the living room, the bathroom, and the balcony. And whilst there are many places to sit around this apartment, there aren't that many places where I like to sit and read. So maybe I will try to utilize one of my weekends where I can go somewhere else, maybe to the beach or to the park, and use one of those spots to read as well. We'll figure it out. I'll try to film a vlog about it, though I can't promise anything. And that, my friends, is my TBR for Orilium's autumn equinox. It is a lot of books and a lot of pages, but I am looking forward to it. I don't know if I'll be able to achieve all of that. Regardless, if I manage to find new favorite books and enjoy myself, that is the most important thing. I am so excited about Orilium, guys. G has an amazing imagination. It's such a tremendous amount of work, and I am so grateful to her for doing this for us. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please let me know if you're participating in Orilium. What's your character's name? What classes are you taking? What books are you gonna read for them? I am so curious to know. Thank you so much for watching, and if you'd like to see the rest of my TBR for August, or how I did in the spring equinox, check out these videos. Bye!